Welcome to the week 6, I think it's week 6. Yeah, the week 6 recap for REL 9B and 9C. I'm KS Baloo.
And I'm SB Dwiggy.
And Gengar's not here because he needs to cover for a coworker. Uh, but we're still Team Foul, technically.
I did
Every
play that one game.
Yeah, everyone involved has finished playing their games for the season, but you know what? We still have our name on it.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's look straight at the schedule, starting with Division 9B. So, there's still a lot of admin games. We're just going to get that out of the way right away. Rage Dwarf, admin game. The Pananimals, admin game. The Rudderhood, admin game. So that's 3 admin games, but that means we have 4 not admin games, which is better than last week.
Yep.
We're improving! So let's look at the first game, which is, of course, the highlight of the whole evening for me. The Tacklers versus the Gads Gobstoppers.
This was a fun game. I watched this one last night on replay. I wouldn't say it was a proper dicing, but the Tacklers were not getting any help. Even when the Gobstoppers were failing actions, they were still removing players from the pitch. There were at least 3 turnovers I saw on a both down that injured or KO'd a rat. And, I mean, it's going to be tough to come back from that.
It does appear that the Goblins had better ball possession than the Rats and also outblocked them. So
They did. They did. There was also 2 times that I saw this happen. So if the One Free Skelly is listening, you had a couple guys that were laying on the ground. You zoned in on your blitz, and you wanted to do your blitz action first, which is, I mean, typically a lot of the Skaven players are going to go for their blitz first. But you had guys on the ground that were not marked, and I feel like you might have been able to change the outcome of this game if you would have just picked those guys up and moved them somewhere in preparation for the next turn before failing a couple dodges to get to your blitz action. But other than that, yeah, the dice were rough for the Tacklers, especially the armor and injuries.
I do think Skelly might be a newer coach as well, because like the thing with that is like everyone gets tunnel vision, but it definitely happens more with new coaches. It's just the sort of thing that as you play more games, you'll start doing less. So, play more games and you'll get better often in measurable ways.
And honestly, that was the only thing I saw. I thought he was playing well for the situation that he was in. He was not getting a lot of good dice, but he was keeping the pressure on Ravenpoe. And Ravenpoe's a good coach. Doesn't matter if he's playing goblins or anything. So it's
no. It matters that he's playing goblins. He has a 3-2-1 record with only 1 bye week. He has the best performing stunty team in REBBL right now.
That doesn't surprise me. Like I said, Ravenpoe's a great coach.
It's amazing. He is actually on the top of the leaderboard for the Stunty Cup, which I'm also tracking, by the way.
Hey, just saying, I called it. You heard it last week. I think he's going to get the Stunty Cup, and I'm cheering for him.
It's either going to be him or that one ogre team. I think those are the only... What is it? Maxim? I think it's Maxim Ogre Kill. I don't remember. I don't have that spreadsheet open right now. But those 2 are well ahead of all of their competition in terms of the Sunday Cup, at least.
Gotcha. I don't really understand how the Sunday Cup works, so I'll just take your word for it.
Well, basically, it's whoever has the most points, but bye weeks don't count. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Fair enough.
Anyway, let's move on to the next game. That would be the Elements of Style versus Yeti to Conquer. which is a new team, which we talked about last time. It's Iron Master. Uh, Maybe a team that's a little bit too good for this division, but you know what? It's close enough. It's close enough to where it should be.
Yeah. And Mistakes is a good coach too, so I mean,
Mm-hmm.
he was in REL 1 for what, 4 seasons, 5 seasons? So he's no stranger to tough opponents.
Mm-hmm. And he actually got out of this game without really much in the way. Well, it says he has death, but it was like a loner, so it
Yeah,
does not
load of
count.
death.
He did take a niggle on a War Dancer. Wait, no. It might have already had a niggle. Well, he has a
Yeah,
War
he already had
Dancer
the niggle.
with a niggle who is MNG'd.
That is correct, yeah.
And other than that, yeah, like, he just got KO'd a ton by the Norse.
Yeah,
And
and I didn't see this game, but seeing both the War Dancers casualty, that's never going to help you, especially against a team like Norse.
uh,
You definitely need those War Dancers in the field.
that is certainly true. Moving on, we have the Werewolf of Wall Street versus Click Click Splat, with the Lizards winning 2-0. And this was a deadly game for the Necro team.
It was a deadly game for the Necro team, but they still got 72 blocks in.
Wow. How the hell did that happen?
I, I mean, it's they got some KOs.
Got a lot of
They
badly hurts.
they definitely targeted the skinks. They got 5 Kazas, 1 on the Saurus, 4 on skinks. But I've played lizards a lot. That's my first team,
Mm-hmm.
and you only need 1 skink to score.
Mm-hmm.
And he's still his Agi 4 skink was the only one who survived that game from the Kaz box.
Yeah. Wow, though. I neglected to look at the injuries for this game beforehand, and wow.
Yeah, it was a bloody game.
No kidding. But yeah, the Werewolf on Wall Street did lose 2 players. One of them was a zombie. One of them was this ghoul who got MVP, because of course. The Short Hands Guard ghoul. He still has another ghoul who also has guard. So
I mean, you know you're gonna lose ghouls from time to time, especially when they have guard, because you have to keep them. You're gonna leave them based up more often than you would.
yeah.
So you just use that guard and hope that it survives as long as it does, and then eventually it'll die.
Having
And
said
there's
that,
nothing you can do about it.
I'm gonna go on a limb and guess he's probably gonna take block or wrestle on his other guard when it levels up. Probably not gonna replicate the Sure Hands.
Yeah,
Which, to be fair,
I don't know. I don't know who his next opponent is. Like, it depends on if he's still has Mistace left or not, because Mistace now has 2 strip ball War Dancers, and you're definitely going to want to have somebody with sure hands before facing him.
Okay, yeah, that's a good point. He's playing Goblins next. That'll be a fun game. Okay. And last of all, we have the Hausdorff's Home Wreckers versus the Bounce Castle Enthusiasts in a 1-1 draw.
Always love seeing a Kislip team. I've never figured out how to play them, but they're a nightmare to play against. And seeing them succeed against Chaos Dwarves are one of the hardest teams for me to face. So seeing them pull out a draw, that's pretty good. Especially after taking 60 blocks.
Yeah, 60 blocks to 27. They took no injuries. They inflicted 2. I guess they took a lot of KOs, to be fair.
Yeah, 6 KOs.
But
they took 6 and then also had 2 off of failures, so dodges or leaps.
I mean, probably leaps. Let's be real.
Yeah.
It could also be from fouls, though.
That's true.
Yeah, so, this was Cast Dwarves bash well, but they can't always complete the touchdown. It's a lot easier to come in 1-1 than it is to come in 2-1. And that's clearly what happened here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, Uh, I don't know if you have a team picked out. Let's. Oh, actually, before I look at the teams, I want to look at the leaderboard really quick. Uh, okay, Unseen Walker is in first place on the leaderboard. That is the Ragedorf team. But also, half of the team's wins are bye weeks. So, something might happen about that at the end of the season. I don't know. I mean, he's only. I don't know. We'll see. But the thing I'm actually really interested in is the Gad Stoppers, who are tied for fifth.
That's pretty darn good for a stunty team.
Yeah. Yeah, that's like amazing. And they haven't played their game this week either yet. So they could go even higher if they win against the Lizards. You know, stranger things have happened.
And I'm looking at their TV right now. Other than they just played the Rat-a-tat Tacklers, they're 200 below, it looks like, almost everybody. So, inducements galore.
And honestly, this Goblin team is starting to get a little bit bloated. Like, some of those skilled up Goblins need to start dying. Is where this team is starting to get. But it's still low enough below. Like, the rest of the division is developed enough that it's still fine. Excuse me. Anyway, I wanted to point out that really quickly. Stay's actually in third. Anyway, we will talk about this in depth in a week or two. For now, we have some teams to look at, and I have a particular team to look at. A very important one to check out, if I can find it. Here it is, dead last in the listings, frosting and filling, coached by Daffo97. This is another new team!
Woo!
Starting in week 7, which is this week. Sort of. I mean, we're recapping week 6, but we're doing it in week 7. You know how it goes. Gengar! Okay. Let's look at this team.
Let's do it.
Also, I just want to... Yeah, okay. 5 admin wins to catch up to the division. That seems fair.
Yep. Yeah. Especially since it was a Greenhorn division.
Yep, exactly.
Interesting. He took a thrower. You don't see that often on a Norse team.
Okay, I actually don't hate the thrower on Norse, but I am in the minority.
I don't hate a thrower. It's just I'm just saying it's something different, not something you see every day. So,
I mean, I understand people saying they don't want they don't need pass on Norse because you don't really need it very often. But genuinely, I think the leader access, which is exactly what he did here, is probably worth the inclusion of one thrower. It certainly is in a more bloaty Norse team because like extra 20k for pass. Who if you're at 2000 TV, that extra 20 doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And with all the frenzy that Norse has, you sometimes are gonna need all those rerolls. So
plus, if you do have the leader, you can get rid of one of your rerolls. Like this one has 4 rerolls, including leader, but it could go to 3, and then it has net saved itself 20 TV. But anyway,
and for me, yeah.
Thrower aside, the rest of this team looks like not bad.
Yeah. What's interesting to me is the lineman with sure hands and plus Agi. And he got the sure hands first.
I do understand wanting sure hands on a player on a Norse team, actually. I could definitely see looking at this and going, well, I need this on someone. I may as well put it on the lineman.
But if I'm thinking if you got a thrower, you might as well put the sure hands on the thrower because, he can pass if he needs to.
Okay, well, the reason that didn't... Like, had the thrower leveled up twice, I think that's what would have happened. But because it's only one level up, I mean, whether you think he needed it or not, he clearly decided he wanted leader.
Yeah. And, I mean, Agi 4 on alignment is still very good. So, just having that one reliable, ball pickup, especially, like, if you can knock the ball loose and it's in a scrum, you now have a guy who might have a 50-50 instead of a 50 or 33% chance, and you get a reroll with it as well, and a 2+ dodge out to hand it off to somebody and run away. So it's a good piece on offense and defense.
He also has the one Fend lineman. He has the one Dirty Player lineman. He has block on one Ulf, and he has a little bit of Mighty Blow. There's
Yeah.
no Yeti, which stands out to me.
It's I've played some Norse. I'm actually going to play Norse in the World Cup, and I didn't take a Yeti either. And I remember talking to Ornan about this a lot before the season, and you can either go one or two ways. You can either go Yeti and lose out on the rerolls and the bench, or you can not take the Yeti, take the bench, get some dirty players, and start fouling. And it's two different ways to build a Norse team. And so it looks like he is going for the foul approach with the bench.
That would seem to be the case. And, I mean, maybe I'm ignorant in saying this, but I definitely think you can probably pull off both. Maybe you can't pull off both well, though, and that is the thing. Because I know Ornan is pretty 50-50 on the Yeti himself, but I also know a lot of his argument against it for his team boils down to him not being able to support a rookie Yeti on his developed team.
That's true, but also a rookie Yeti is also more of a liability than most big guys. So
Is it?
I could see the argument for or against. Yeah, because it's got no block, no Mighty Blow, Frenzy on top of it, and no Thick Skull with AV8. So it's easy to remove, and it's easy to cause turnovers and cause you headaches.
Okay,
So
that's fair. I mean, it's not the only big guy who fits most of those descriptions, but it is probably the one that sees the most play. Not a whole lot of people like Rat Ogres or Minotaurs.
Yeah.
Okay. So, hopefully Daffo sticks around. I mean, I would imagine he will, since he's considering when he started. I don't see why you would start in week 7 only to drop in week 9, right? That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's look at another team. Do you have one that you want to take a gander at?
I have not seen this Ragedorf team, and it is at the top of the leaderboard, and it looks like you guys haven't covered them yet.
Well, if that is what my thing says, then I'm inclined to believe it. So let's look at Ragedorf. I do remember covering this in our pre-cap, but that does not count.
Yeah.
Let's see.
All right.
There it is. Rage on! Actually, a very reasonable 1330 TV. Well, yeah, I think that's reasonable. Oh, only a... Well... Oh, strength up, stat. Yeah, it's reasonable.
Yeah. I like the development on this team. I like all of his names, too.
Oh, wow. Actually, he has cycled through Longbeards super quickly. Because at the beginning of the season, we told him that he shouldn't have players who have the same name. And because he had all of his Longbeards had the same name at the start of the season. And now only 2 of them do. So...
Hey. I bet you with those bye weeks, he probably fired some and bought new ones with the funding.
That's probably what happened. It looks like the 2 he kept, he still has leveled up as well. So I can understand wanting to keep them.
Yeah.
He also has a plus strength blitzer, which, I'm a fan of. Those guys are pretty good. 1 SPP away from leveling up. Gotta get the pass in. Mighty Blow on both Troll Slayers and plus movement runner. Now he just needs to roll doubles for the dodge, and he can start. Fastdorf can be Hell's Gate 2.0.
Yeah. I mean, it's something about when you name a character with something like fast, he's gonna get plus movement. If you name a character like strong one, he's gonna get plus strength. I don't know what it is, but Nuffle likes it when you name your characters after stat ups, and he'll reward you with them.
Yeah, and when you name it after a river valley famous for how narrow and fast it is and how fast the water goes through it. Anyway, This team has a ton of Mighty Blow on it. 4 Mighty Blow players and 3 guard. I think it honestly needs more guard. 3
Yeah,
for dwarves. 3 is light. This dwarf right here, this Longbeard should not have Mighty Blow. He should have guard.
I'm
Um,
wondering if that was
mo-
the first level up that he had, and he was just like, let's get something on there before the other ones got their mighty blow.
I
But
I don't remember. I know one of these 2 Longbeards was actually the first level up, or at least one of the first level ups, but I don't know which it was. Um, but yeah, like, I mean, this looks like a 1300 TV dwarf team. There actually are a few things that stand out to me, other than just saying, well, you really need more guard. Like, strength 4 guy, that guy needs to get guard when he levels up. Longbeards, they need to get guard when they level up. I don't really like guard on Troll Slayer, but I've heard people argue for it. But those people who have argued for it, I've never seen them play dwarves. So, anyway. Um, but no, actually, what stands out to me here is there's only one runner.
I've seen that work before. Um, you're putting it's kind of an all your eggs in one basket thing, and then hoping that your blitzers
Mm-hmm.
will survive if he goes down. But I mean, it's not unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. Like, if you want to be super TV efficient and just put every last TV available towards killing your opponents, or at least hitting them a lot, then one runner build makes sense because it makes your team a little bit less squishy. Because
Yeah.
dwarves are really squishy, right? And and it frees up another player who would otherwise not be hitting things to be hitting things. But I
Yeah.
just think I'm not a fan of it because first of all, you're losing a lot from it. You only have 3 players who can carry the ball in this build, which isn't great. Um,
I like the second runner just so I
and
can develop him as a safety, because
yeah,
they're the only movement 6 on your team.
that's the other thing, right? You're giving up a lot of movement, not just the agility, but the movement as well. And you can easily develop that second runner into a safety, or a sacker. Like, it's the
Mm-hmm.
only player who doesn't have block, which means it's great to put wrestle on it.
Yep.
But you need 2 of them to do that because you can't put wrestle on your damn ball carrier.
Yep.
But at the same time, it's not like this is wrong. This is completely valid. It's just not what I like.
We're nitpicking. That's
Mhm.
what we do.
You're doing too good. You're doing too good, Unseen Walker. So we need to nitpick your team a little bit. But no, like seriously, you have a ton of Mighty Blow. Get a couple more guard players, and this team is gonna rock for the rest of the season.
Yep.
Okay. On that note, let us transition to the other division that we are looking at. That would be 9C. And there's one admin game, of course. It is Dead Presidents. Get the admin. So, they got it. Woohoo. That brings us to Red Runt Rage versus Dauntless Unicorns, which looks like an upset win, but actually this was also an admin game. Dauntless Unicorns has not dropped. They just were not available. At least that's how I understand the situation. But moving on to a game that was actually played, Mystery Science Goats 3000 versus All Orc and No Play, and the Orcs win 2-0.
Yeah, I saw the first half of this game, and it was a lot of KOs on the Chaos side. The Orcs received first, and we're just getting KO after KO after KO. And stalled the end and scored. I didn't see if the KOs came back or not. I'm assuming they did because Mystery Science evened up the tackles to 45.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm assuming that Fugu or Fugyu, I don't know how to pronounce it.
Who was on offense first?
The Orcs were on offense first,
Well,
and they stalled to turn 8.
In that case, I would expect at least some of. at least some of the goats probably stayed off then, because the Orcs did steal the ball to score another touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
I think they would have had a hard time doing that against Chaos if the Chaos had a full roster. I mean, they could have definitely stalled out the game for a 1-0 win, but stealing the ball is a fair bit harder unless something unexpected happens or they have a big man advantage.
Yeah. And I mean, they got 0 removals, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Literally 0.
There was an injured goat, but most likely that was from a surf or a failed dodge, because it definitely didn't come from. Or no, wait.
No, it
there's
was
no
inflicted
injured. Yeah,
by them.
I 100% flipped who was who when I was looking at this.
But
yeah, no removals.
Mr. Sans Ghost,
that's hard
absolutely
for Chaos.
no removals. Yeah, that's harsh. In 45 blocks, it is statistically unlikely as well, even against AV9. You're going to at least, like, well, how many armor breaks were there? 3 armor breaks in 45 blocks.
It's AV9 should be what, 1 in 6?
AV9 is 1 in 9. So
1 in 9.
Actually, that's not too far off. 3.
Yeah, it was all stuns.
That's 5. Yeah, he got statistically fewer armor breaks than he should have with the number of blocks he made. He succeeded in. Actually, that's assuming that every block was a knockdown, so never mind.
Yeah.
Still, he certainly didn't get lucky with the number of armor breaks. Which is harsh, but sometimes it happens. Like, this looks like it was a bit of a dicing, but also Fugu looks like he just played well as well.
Yeah.
Like, he got good dice and then capitalized on them.
Oh yeah, his ball carrier was protected like completely. That he had I would have liked in the first half to see Mystery Science Goats pressure the ball a little bit more when he was like stalling at the end zone. It seemed like he was more trying to just go ahead and get some blocks in, and maybe he wasn't trying to win the game. Maybe he was just trying to get some SPP out of the whole situation, because it is a lettered division, and sometimes you just got to go for development. And play for next season.
He is playing Chaos as well, so
yeah, Chaos is hard at the beginning. And but really good at the end.
And it is worth saying, Negative Pro is a fairly new coach. Last season was his first season playing in REBBL, and I think sort of when he picked up Blood Bowl in the first place as well. And he played Goblins that season, so you can probably imagine how that went for him.
Fair enough.
So like he's still having rough games maybe, but I feel like he's doing a lot better than last season. So he is improving. And I think that's really all you can hope for.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on. The next game on the list is Nerves versus Mammals of Unusual Size.
I didn't watch this.
I concede. What?
Okay. So I was not watching this game, but I was in Discord as it was being played. And it's not a good sign when the coach of a team playing asks, "What are the rules for a legal concede?" Which I believe is what you can only field
if
3
you
players.
If you cannot field the line of scrimmage, then you can concede at kickoff.
And that's what happened.
Okay. There is certainly the injuries to back that up. 4 injuries, 1 KO, and 6. Let's try saying that again. 6 KOs, 4 injuries, and 1 kill. With that kill being a line woman, and one of those injuries being a move-busted line woman. The line woman continued to take all of the abuse in Mammals of Unusual Size.
And for as bloody of a game as it was, all of the permanents were on line women. So the niggle, the MNG, the move bust, the death. So he hasn't lost a single positional. So he's going to have to deal with loners for his next game. Just a handful of them. Unless he's probably going to sack the movement one. And the niggle wasn't on his team to begin with. But he'll have to deal with loners taking actions, but that's really not that big of a deal.
And honestly, like Amazons uh, have good line women. Like line
Yep.
women are good players, so
Hmm.
you aren't really hurt that much to have the loners. Like it hurts more to have no bench than it does to have loners on a
Yeah.
Amazon team.
Yeah. They still got dodge, so if they
Exactly.
need to get out of it, if they need to get out of a tricky situation, they're good.
Exactly. You shouldn't be blowing rerolls on them anyway.
Yeah.
It's basically the same situation as a peasant, only a little bit different because the Amazon can dodge and the peasant you just take the hit. Pretty much, yeah. So that was a surprise for me. Um, but pitch clears happen.
Yep. They do. And Nerves' killing team of death got even more scarier out of it with level ups on a mummy, both of his whites, and both of his ghouls.
Oh yeah, a ton of SP all on players that he wants it on.
Yep.
8 SP on one ghoul.
I think that was a touchdown and a
Yeah,
MVP.
that's what it looks like. Anyway,
But he did get it looks like he got a touchdown on his mummy as well, which is awesome.
Gotta love that that concede touchdown. I mean, although we will never know. Well, did you watch the game actually? You didn't, did you?
I didn't, but I know that even when you get a concede touchdown, it won't give you the SPP for it.
Really?
At least from what I've seen in Open League. So I'm thinking that.
I guess he just scored
concede,
twice then. Huh.
Yeah, because a concede will always be a win by 2, and if you're already up by 2, it won't change the score.
Although sometimes they'll do really weird things depending on what the score is. Like I've definitely seen like 5-3 concede wins.
Yeah.
Or things like that. Like actually last season with Luke, someone who was in my division, not this Luke, not Luke 4444, but Luke Sama, he had at least one game where he was winning and then his opponent shot up 3 points because his connection dropped out.
Oh, that always hurts.
Anyway, let's move on. Speaking of Luke, not Luke Sama, but the Luke of 9C, we have Wood Elves United versus the Rockin' Sock'ems, and Wood Elves win.
Oh yeah, I got thoroughly out-elfed. Luke 444 is a darn good coach. It was a fun game though. Even as frustrating as it was a fun game. So he strip ball did a thing. So did picking up in 2 tackle zones like elves do, and running off with the ball. And I tried to. So he was up 2-0 pretty quick. He scored on turn 2 with the kickoff, got the ball off of me, and scored on turn 4. I was able to somehow score a touchdown at the end of the half. And I was like, okay, so I'm in a good spot. Let's just get a slow touchdown, even it up, and then defend from the 1 score and just hope for a tie at this point. That didn't happen. He took the ball off me again and scored. But on turn 16, I was able to make it to a respectable 3-2. And then he 1-turned me on the last turn of the game. And it was fun though. It's always I don't care if I've never done a 1-turn myself as a fairly new coach to Blood Bowl. So it's always impressive to me to see one succeed.
Well, that's okay. I'm not a new coach, and I've never done it either, except with Throw Teammate.
Fair enough.
And you throw enough goblins, and eventually one lands on his feet.
Yeah, it's got to happen sometime, right? 6s happen just as often as 1s, right?
Exactly.
Statistically.
The only thing that really, the only thing that stood out to me that we haven't already gone into, is that both teams had a lion elf die.
Yeah. I had my guy died on turn 2 on a random line elf block, and his guy turned on died on I think like turn 9 or 10 on a random line elf block. So it was like
Mm-hmm.
we traded linemen between halves.
Pretty
So
much, yeah. And no injuries from tripping. Well, you can't get it every time. Okay. Let's move on to the Flat Earthers versus the Dwarfs of Duncan. Chaos Dwarves beat Ogres.
yeah, when you got that much tackle against a team of working with Noblars and stunty dodges, it's a tough ask. Um, Especially when one of the guys has claw
Mm-hmm.
and can badly hurt your one leveled up ogre. I'm assuming that's what happened, but I didn't actually watch this game. But I'm assuming the claw probably fired.
Well, at the very least, there was no permanent injuries inflicted on players who count.
That's true.
Lots of injured snotlings,
Yeah,
but
2 deaths.
yeah, no, those don't count.
Snarling lives matter. They no, they don't. Who am I
No,
kidding?
no, they don't. They matter to no one, not even the other
unless
snotlings.
unless you're Yob, we love you. We love you, Yob.
Okay, that's sort of a special exception. Snotling lives can matter when the snotling has leader.
And Agi 5.
And
Don't
Agi
forget that.
5. But yeah, like the real story here is all told in the injury stats. The Flat Earthers inflicted 1 KO and 0 injuries, and Ogres are a team where either they murder their opponents or they lose. And they did not murder their opponents.
No, they did not. And against dwarves, if you were relying on a ogre ball
Oh hey,
carrier,
one of these players tripped. 2 KOs. Only one of them was
yeah.
inflicted. Anyway, sorry, I cut you off.
Oh no, it's fine. I was gonna say if you're relying on an ogre score as an ogre coach against dwarves, chaos or regular, you don't want the one injured ogre to be your only break tackle. So,
Well, I do know that that should no longer be a problem for him because he now has 3 ogres that have break tackle.
ooh, nice.
Mm-hmm. He's just taking break tackle and everything. Although I'm not sure he got. I think he had 2 before for this game actually, because he definitely
He only had
got
one.
He definitely
He only
only got 1 level up in this game.
From what the league manager, but take league manager with a grain of salt because league manager sometimes sucks. He only had the 1 for the game. I'm looking at his team right now though in client, and he's only got 2 break tackles.
Oh, maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe like a snotling level up or something.
Well, he's only got 3 now, and so all the injured ones are now gone. Which I don't hate.
Yeah, like I mean, honestly, if you are, this is another case where, I do think it's worthwhile to keep 1 or 2 snotlings around who don't have loner, for the simple reason that it is more likely to succeed throwing that player. But you definitely don't care if a snotling has loner normally.
Yeah. And I don't know which coach it was last season, if it was Spicosaurus or if it was a different ogre coach.
It was Spicosaurus who fired all of his snotlings.
And was just ogre straight, and then just dealt with the loner snotlings. That's one way to do it if you want to level your ogres fast. You just force them to be your ball carriers and go for it.
He was also in a division which was missing several players. Like, I think it had 2 admin games in it. So part of the reason he did that was also to channel his admin SPP to exclusively his ogres. But, you know, it actually worked pretty well for him.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the last game of the division. That would be the Crawdad Zydeco Experience versus Economy of Scale.
I watched this one last night. This might have been my favorite game to watch, even over the Goblin one, because this one was a lot of fun. It went back and forth both ways. Rock Lobstrosity got the first touchdown on economy of scale for the season, which is fun. The one thing that I saw that might have changed the outcome is I felt like Rock Lobstrosity potatoed with his ball carrier twice when he didn't need to, and that was when economy of scale was able to take the ball off of him and score. But it was still a fun game to watch. Both coaches did very well. It would, yeah. If you want to look at a fun human versus lizardman game, I would recommend going into Client and watching that replay.
Well, yeah, like those always are the best games. The one to watch anyway. The ones where they're really close. I certainly don't mind playing games where it is a one-sided beatdown as long as I'm the one doing the beating down. Although at the same time, that even playing that certainly gets boring after a while if it's all you're doing.
Yeah.
No, like close games are the best way to play. And the best way to watch, and this sounds like it was a really fun game for everyone involved. If a bit uninteresting in terms of the measurable stats after the fact.
Yeah, and so it was pretty even on removals. One skink got injured or casualtied, and I forget who it was on the other one side. I think it was a Saurus who had an M&G or something like that he got a successful Lapo on and came back into the game, which was great for Furl. But KOs 2 each. Losing one skink isn't a big deal for a Lizardman team, even if you're playing one man down, especially against humans. So it was just a game of positioning. That's pretty much all it was, and it was fun to watch.
Okay, yeah, okay. Definitely sounds like a game worth checking out, like you said. Now, let's. I looked at the leaderboard for the other division, so I should look at this one as well. Economy of the Scale on top, Nerves second place, Dwarfs of Duncan are in third. Unfortunately, Ogres are in dead last. Behind even the admin team, but eventually they'll get at least one win. Red Run Rage is actually 303, so they're actually not doing too bad.
2 of those were admin runs, though. One of them being a forfeit on Dauntless Unicorns.
Okay, so here's the thing with that. That forfeit does not count as an admin win.
So it counts as a win for his Stunty Cup.
Exactly.
Nice.
Because it wasn't because it was a scheduling thing and not a drop player. So at least as I understand the rules, that did not count as a bye week. That's how I have it listed in my spreadsheet, at least. Because it wasn't a bye week. It was an admin game. They are distinct.
And Scambammer, I'm going to tell you right now, if Ravenpo doesn't get the Stunty Cup, I hope it's you. The only reason I have you listed below him is because you beat me.
Yeah, he's actually doing really good.
He is.
He's behind the top 2, but he's not too far behind. He's definitely in the pack of teams that can reasonably compete for that first place position. Because these are stunty teams. You can expect everyone is going to lose a lot of games. So it doesn't take winning many to have a big upset on that leaderboard.
I think Maximum Overkill got in last season with 2 non-admin wins, maybe? I don't remember.
I don't recall either. They actually had a pretty impressive record.
They did. They had to get in there. But then I think they played actually Rock Lobstrosity, who's in our division now. And he went on his epic run to the semifinals.
I think they had a good enough record that Metal was worried he would have to actually do his bet of eating his hat. I think it was a hat. No, it was a shirt, wasn't it? Anyway, some article of clothing. But no, he fell still, like, I don't remember what he came in. He was like sort of middle of the pack for his division, but for Stunty, that's like really good.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's look at a couple of teams now. I do not have a specific team picked out, so
Well, we picked the leader of 9B, so I feel like we should pick the leader of 9C, and they haven't been covered yet, so that's economy of scale, a Lizardman team.
makes sense to me. They are right here at 1340 TV. We're gonna win bigly. I do not. I feel like that is a reference to something, but I do not get it. I get it now. I looked at the player names and.
I don't want to talk about it, but I mean, he's winning, and he's winning bigly. So there is that.
These are great player names, though. The
They
American Dream, Block Friday, Supply Sideline Economy, The Invisible Hand, Tackle Down Economics.
That's my favorite one. That one is my favorite one.
Wrestle to Work, who has Block.
I know, that's weird.
Predatory Dicing. Fraud! Bailout. Rebound. Bootstraps. Henry. I don't know what the Henry acronym is.
Yeah, I don't know what that one is either. But I assume it's clever.
Yeah, probably. So, the thing that actually stands out to me about this team is how little development it has.
It's hard to level Saurus. It is, and I'm surprised that only 6 weeks in, he's gotten 4 levels and a level on his Crocs. That's more than I've gotten in a lot of playing Lizardman. So sometimes you just don't get the MVPs on the players you want them, and it always goes to Skinks. But he is.
I mean, my next question then is how aggressively has he been cycling Skinks? Because there's hardly any levels on his Skinks either. And I mean, don't get me wrong, trim Skinks is a good thing. But I feel like in this stage, there just should be more SPP here, especially for a team that has won almost every game they've played. Maybe literally every game they've played. Every game they've played.
So what I'm looking at right now, the American Dream, the Crocsagore, has 2 MVPs. Block Friday has 2 MVPs. Invisible Hand has scored 2 touchdowns. That was his level up. Wrestle to Work has 2 MVPs. So I guess the MVPs are going to the Saurus. He's just getting them all on the same Saurus.
Yeah, it's like he's scoring almost hardly any injuries. And, well, presumably Black Friday has a touchdown as well. Yep. So he is not getting very many casualties. And how many touchdowns is that? Like, 1...
Yeah, he's only inflicted 5.
2,
But he's only
3...
taken 7.
But, like, that math doesn't add up for a team that is in first place.
If you know what you're doing with a control team, you don't need the casualties to win. So.
Okay, that's fair. No, what I mean is the touchdown. Like, I don't know.
I feel I will
like,
feed them.
Oh no, you're right. It's just it feels like this. Okay, so the numbers do add up, but it feels like they don't because it feels like it should have more. SPP.
I agree. It does, but it's what some of his wins were 1-0, I think. He had 3 1-0 wins, 2 2-0 wins, and a 2-1 win.
And he's generally not done that by murdering people.
Yeah, and the only one of those was an admin game. So he's definitely been.
I mean, like he's well on the way to getting into the playoffs at this rate, but also he is also well on the way to the Lizardman Cursed, where he's eliminated in the first round because his team it lacks critical development.
Yeah.
Like
that's the one bad part.
Like if you look at least in REL, if you look at new divisions, it happens a lot where a Lizardman team performs top 3, but they go into the playoffs or they go into the devastational, and then they just get murdered by better developed teams because they don't
Yep.
have the skills they need to deal with things that have more team value than they do.
That's what happened to my Lizard team last season in the Devastational. After one game, I think I had two guys left to finish the game, and I didn't do the concede because it was only my turn 16. He didn't get another one left. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna get some punches in, but
Yeah, I mean, as you do.
yeah, uh, it's uh, it's Lizards are a great team, but they can implode quick, especially
Mm-hmm.
once you start going up against teams with Claw.
Yeah, and they just don't do great when there's a high TV difference.
I disagree though. I like having my lizards at around 1500 and try and keep them there. Maybe bloat them if they're Saurus bloat heavy. Uh, but if you play below, you get Sibley or Slibly, and you have your seventh Saurus, and you can hang with a lot of teams just with that extra player. And you have
Mm,
now a Saurus that you can throw at the other team that you don't care about as much to be, hey, if you're going to hit anybody, hit this one.
okay.
But he's still a strength 4 guard piece that can, hold the pitch down.
Okay, so yeah, like that's fair. I don't disagree. I agree with everything you just said. Um, at the same time though, I just feel like there's definitely a sweet spot for the TV range for lizards, which I guess is the same for any team. But if lizards and like, I mean, lizards are just a good team at every TV anyway. So it's not like
Yeah.
this is even that big a deal. But there is definitely a point after which, in either TV direction, where they start to struggle because either they're giving away too many inducements and their opponent's inducements are better, or actually no. Usually, if they have too high TV, it's because they have too much skink bloat, and that's what gets them. Um, but if they're
I
too
like that.
if they're too low, you're right. Sibley is great, but you don't really have much else to do with your money after you have Sibley.
That's true. But yeah, if you're going up against a claw team,
Mm-hmm.
two babes and an Apo are great. Because you're gonna have Saurus get KO'd or
Mm-hmm.
injured, and being able to reliably bring them back every drive, so you
Mm-hmm.
can slowly, hopefully, take some of their players out, so you have the numbers advantage, even if you're down 0-1, to be able to get a 2-1 win. I do, and he doesn't really have a whole lot of skink development. I like to have one superstar skink on my teams. It's the guy who gets the first doubles
Mm-hmm.
or the first agi up, to be your kind of guy that you lean on, and the rest of the skinks are just there to protect him.
Mm-hmm.
And then you just use the Saurus to control the pitch, and then once your superstar is good, just have him go
Yeah,
off.
I mean, ideally, you have one strength 3 blodge skink, and you have one movement 10 agi 4 skink, and then all of your other skinks are rookies. but
Yep. But I do like sidestep, diving tackle, and if they don't have a double or a stat up by their third level, just recycle them.
Yep, that's
But,
what you do with skinks. Micromanage the crap out of your skinks. Anyway, let's look at one more team. I lost track of time there a little bit. But we'll go quickly on this one. I want to look at Mystery Science Goat 3000, which is right here, first one in the list. 11:30 TV Chaos Team in the not too distant future. I don't remember the rest of the theme song. It does appear that every player on the team is named after. Oh yeah, Roy Fizzlebeast, Hack Blowfist. I'm pretty sure these are all names from Mystery Science Theater 3000.
I would assume so. I've only seen like a couple episodes when I was a child, so
I've seen
I'm not versed on it.
I've seen a couple of episodes when I was not a child, and I love the sequences where they're not watching the movies. Um, but the riff tracks format just doesn't work for me personally. But as for this team, well, it has a little bit of development.
Yeah, I would have thought that there would have been more for a Chaos team 6 weeks in. I know it's hard with Chaos early.
Yeah, I think what it is that he only has a total of 7 casualties and kills inflicted.
Yeah,
And only 3 touchdown
it's,
scores. So he's just struggling to get that initial development going. Like,
yeah. Once they start getting that block and Mighty Blow and Claw, they'll be good.
exactly. And Chaos is definitely a team that benefits a lot from playing in the Greenhorn, and this is not a Greenhorn team. So, like, it takes a while to get the ball rolling, right? But I don't think I think the level ups he has are good. Like, he has the one tackle player to take care of elves. He has the one sure hands. Okay, actually, I would prefer sure hands over two arms because that is better for securing the ball. But still, he has the player to secure the ball, and he has the block on the Chaos Warrior, so who almost has leveled up again. So he's prioritizing stability and being able to answer to specific threats, which is good. It's just he needs more skills.
Yeah. There are 2 things that I would change on this team. One, roll Fizzle Beef. You have the money to recycle him. So either recycle him or get a bench player, unless you're going for the Minotaur. I don't know if you are. I personally like the Chaos Minotaur. I don't like the Chorf Minotaur, but I like the Chaos one. But it's also, I know it's not a necessity. I know a lot of teams don't use him. But if you're saving up for him, okay. If you're not, I'm confused as to why Roll Fizzle Beef is still on the team as an unleveled, armor-busted Beastman.
I think that's
unless you're going to use him as line fodder.
I think that's probably line fodder, but I agree that this team should have a bench. So hire another Beastman. I actually like the Minotaur as well, but I absolutely think it's not worth it. It eats up blitzes, and on freaking Chaos, you have no shortage of good blitzers.
That's true.
And
the only other thing I would change though is the big arm. Mainly because I like to wait for my first doubles on a Beastman to make a ball carrier, because then I can start with dodge and then get sure hands, then block, and then you have a dedicated ball carrier or an agi up.
I actually disagree with that. I mean, agi up is fine, and I do like the logic of waiting to take a dedicated ball carrier. Because if you wait for a dedicated ball carrier, it causes you to spread your SPP around more from touchdowns, which means you will level up all of your Beastmen faster by not dedicating one right away to carrying the ball.
As an elf coach, that's not bad, but as a chaos coach, I can see how you want like one ball carrier, one blitzer, couple of fodder, and then beef up your warriors.
I mean, you do want one ball carrier eventually, but you actually, at least I think, you shouldn't get it right away, because if you have a ball carrier right early on in your team's development, that ball carrier will naturally soak up a ton of the team's development, which could go towards getting more skills on players who need them.
That's true.
And also taking dodge first on a non-elf team is just not a good plan usually.
Fair. I like to think there are many ways to play. I'm not saying mine's right.
Well, like it's actually perfectly fine in elves, but it tends to slow down your development on on bash teams in particular. It slows down your development usually, and you can't fully exploit having dodge because you don't have Agi 4.
That's fair.
It's something nice to have later on, but you usually don't want to take it on your first level. Anyway, I think that about covers it, and we have just gone over an hour, so now's a good time to stop.
Um,
Any closing words?
I still like dodge, but I'm an elf coach. That's my closing
Yeah,
words.
I mean that's fair. That's fair. Um. Anyway, I think we're done on that note. So until next time, this has been KS Baloo,
And it's been SP Twiggy.
and have a good day, morning, evening, or whatever time it is whenever you happen to watch this. Because looking at the stats, you're all watching the video.
Yeah.
Until then, next time, bye.